Hi everyone, I'm Ioanna, I'm a sophomore. I'm focusing on psychology, conflict resolution, and political science. This year I did my fieldwork term at the United World College in Mostar, which is also my former high school. And it's part of a network of 17 other schools around the world. The UWC in Mostar is the only UWC with the explicit aim to contribute to the reconstruction of a post-conflict society of Mostar, and it accepts students from over 80 countries with emphasis on students coming from post and conflict societies such as Israel, Palestine, Rwanda, Syria, Iraq, etc. That side moves? Or sweet. Okay. As you can see, the signs of the war are still sort of visible at some parts of the city, even though it has been reconstructed for the most part. My core responsibilities were to design a peace and conflict module for students at the school, as well as English tutoring. I had 3 students from Sudan, Nigeria, and Somalia that I was meeting about 4 times a week. And then I was also working at the refugee camp Tasovchichi, which is sort of my service activity from when I was back in school there. That was my sort of workplace. It's the Spanish room. It's where students usually meet to study or during breaks. It's for the most time quiet, so it was okay to work at. This is the refugee camp that students visit once a week, usually on Saturdays. And it's sort of a complete contrast to the at least partially reconstructed cities, because over 20 years after the war, at least 50 families still live in these boxes. I don't know how to explain that. So the role of the UWC in this community, in this camp, is to organize flea market actions, supermarket actions, and also help the women of the camp sell their hand-knitted socks, both within the school and around Europe. And the peace and conflict module was sort of the main project I was working on. Some background information to that. Current first-year students have this weekly class called Balkan Studies, in which they approach the region of the Balkans from different perspectives, say culture, language, history, bit of economics, etc. And now, as a complementary course, the administration wants to start this peace and conflict module, which is going to be 12 weeks, and it's going to be in the second year and supposed to give students the skills to also deal with conflict on a personal level as well as internationally. Really helpful in this was Mr. Hussein Al-Sai, who's from the Crisis Management Initiative. This is in Finland. And he came for a visit, and it was sort of when I actually actively was able to start my work, because he was really helpful in giving me materials and also sort of guiding me through the process and what was important to include and not, and answer a lot of my questions. And he also put me in contact with Emily Isoho, which is also, she's also Finnish, and she's leading the peace building program at the Zurich University in Switzerland. This is Hussein's visit. He held a lecture in the school on building sustainable peace through dialogue and mediation, and then had an extensive talk with me afterwards as well. This is sort of the outline of the course as it ended up looking, and it's supposed to give students a rounded understanding of conflict as well as the skills. So it starts with focusing on psychology, and then cross-cultural differences, responses to conflict. Then more sort of skills on active listening, constructive communication, mediation workshop, peace building and practice, sort of bringing back into the overall Bosnia and Herzegovina environment, and then consequences of conflict and reconstruction. This will run as a pilot program in UWC Mostar next year, and afterwards the plan is to sort of share it with all UWCs around the world to become like a module for other students as well. Thank you.